We've got Nick in Reading.
Hey guys, how you doing?
Hey, good.
All right.
I just wanted to bring up something that I've never seen you mention in the show, and I've noticed you've had a call or two in the last couple weeks about intelligent design. One of the things I wanted to mention was, by the way, I am a theist, but I'm also an evolutionary biologist. I don't argue with science at all. I guess in your terminology, I'm an agnostic theist in that I do believe, but I would never be arrogant enough to say I know, and I admit I could be wrong. But anyway,
We can hang then.
Yeah, well, that's outstanding. We'll never have contest.
oh, and yeah. By the way, Aron, love the videos. But what I wanted to say was that when it comes to the theory of evolution, the big contribution that Darwin made to science wasn't the idea of common descent. That had been around since Anaximander in ancient Greece. His contribution was the mechanism, natural selection, how it happened. And what occurred to me was for intelligent design to be considered in any way valid, they would first have to propose and second demonstrate a mechanism of their own whereby life could be designed. And I don't think they're ever going to do that because that would probably destroy their entire theology.
Yes, exactly, because they depend on it being a miracle. It's the God of the gaps argument. It can only be explicable by defying the laws of physics, as we mentioned earlier in the show, the definition between, or the distinction between the natural and the supernatural. So since they've hung their hat on the supernatural and then declared it science, they painted themselves into a corner, and that this is the best they're ever going to achieve. The beautiful thing about this is that it's going to have to die down. They lost their court case 5 years ago. Their whole agenda collapsed at that point.
I know, I read the transcripts.
Yeah, but not just that event, but a number of other things that went on in the same year. I mean, that's when Kent Hovind went to jail, among other things, and that's when Ted Haggard got hung up. But there were a whole lot of...
do I remember that one?
There were a lot of elements.
He's back and straighter than he was the last time he came back as straight.
According to who?
According to him. By the way, one of the things about the wedge document that we've talked about before and that I'm sure you guys will be familiar with is that I think Barbara Forrest actually pointed this out, that the strategy was actually twofold, the wedge strategy. And one was to kind of undermine evolution.
And the next was to get it out of the schools.
And the second phase was to actually do what you're saying they should do, to demonstrate an ID mechanism.
Really?
That would be an alternative.
Okay, because
and there's a direct
going
admission.
Back to a little point that Aron said earlier, where he said it defied the laws of physics. I'm going to say that it doesn't, because it could conceivably be possible for us to design life one day.
But that doesn't imply a supernatural designer. Right. That's what they've hung their hat on.
Well, yeah. They hung their hat in the supernatural. I mean, they always tiptoed around saying it was supernatural. It was, an unnamed designer.
Well, they also said at various points that it could only be a supernatural designer.
But anyway, if you dig around a little bit in the original wedge strategy stuff, and I think there's actually an admission that's, I think, posted on Talk Origins or whatever.
I've read the whole wedge strategy.
Where he's basically saying, we haven't been able to do the lab work.
I found that movement just very, very disgusting, because I am a huge proponent of separation of church and state. The government has no right to tell anyone what to believe. And neither do these religious groups have any right to push their crap on anyone else.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks, Nick.
Okay.
Yep. Thank you.